What's going on, folks? Dustin DePirac here alongside Andy Graham. We are still in the press box in Bowling Green, Kentucky, after just watching Indiana defeat Western Kentucky 38-21 in front of, I guess, the second largest crowd to ever watch a game here. The largest crowd watched Murray State.
Yeah, you could not draw Murray State, but Murray State's a rival, I think.
Murray State's a rival, apparently. I was not aware of that. Anyway, basic synopsis. I mean, Indiana had a rough beginning. They got down to the 13-yard line after a kick return by Tannen Doss, fumbled it, gave up a 91-yard drive, but then answered that with 31 points. Basically after that. So Andy, it's your first game back on the beat in a while. What did you think about the Hoosiers tonight? Basically, what impressed you? What do you think? What are the things they need to work on, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know what heated up faster, the press box or the Indiana's passing attack. I think the press
doing
box.
Metaphors right? Okay.
I think the press box. It was
hot.
brutal.
I was hurting.
It faced due west to the sun as the game progressed. In any case, I think Indiana fans saw a lot of things that they've been able to look at with some degree of. I don't know.
You going with optimism here?
No, masochism. That was the word I was trying to come up with early on, because they've seen the can't stand prosperity fumble inside the opponent's 10. They've seen the missed field goal. They've seen the defense getting shredded, not seeming to be able to adjust to an opening drive, coming right at them on the ground, all of that stuff. But Coach Lynch said something during the press conference was, I think, is probably accurate about this time, or about this team, and that he's had some teams where that kind of start really would have concerned him more, but he thinks this is a more mature team, and a big reason for that, he has a senior quarterback that he feels lends that kind of maturity to the entire operation of the team out there.
Without question, Ben Chappell was absolutely on point today. Well, maybe not absolutely on point. 32 for 42 for 366, a career high, and 3 touchdowns. When he wasn't on point, Tannen Doss and DeMarlo Belcher absolutely were. DeMarlo had a career high 10 catches, 135 yards, and a touchdown. He was kind of the solid go-to guy, but Tannen Doss made some amazing plays. A play on the, it was 3 yards out, I guess, and he just made a leaping grab and just ripped the ball out of the sky, forced his way forward, just dragged the tackler into the end zone. He had one of those kind of days. It was his first day back from a groin injury. He'd been out for most of the last 2 weeks. Had missed the Towson game, really most of the last 3 weeks, and he was just outstanding today. But I guess a lot of people are going to look at, like you said, that first opening drive defensively. They just got bullied. I mean, they got pushed around on a 10-play, 91-yard drive. It wasn't like Towson, where they kind of kept them together and then Chris Hart busted loose for a big play or something like that. What did you think about that? Basically, what did you see from the defense that would concern you if you're in Indiana?
I thought they were really vanilla. They came out and weren't very aggressive, but I think partially, talking to Brian George after the game, he indicated that Western did some things that IU hadn't seen on film. It goes back to Coach Willer's Stanford days when he was an assistant out there. And once IU was able to work in some adjustments they'd prepared, if they saw something like that from the Stanford days, they would be able to handle it better. And I think that obviously showed after that opening drive. But what you said about the receiving corps is just so true. The thing about Doss and Belcher, they're such big receivers. And how many tacklers did you see them dragging around today after the catch? Terrence Turner is really a weapon going over the. He does the crossing route so well, coming over the middle. They're able to integrate such talented young receivers as DeWeese Wilson and Bolser, the tight end, shows up again today. It's just a receiving corps that, Ohio State's got a heck of a core. Purdue did. Keith Smith went down with an injury. Michigan State. There's some others in the conference that you can say have outstanding receiving corps. But really, in all honesty, it's been 8 years since I covered Indiana football on a beat. But I can't remember in 20 years previous to that necessarily seeing a better receiving corps at IU than this one.
No, it is. It's definitely outstanding. That's kind of Chris and I used to say it all the time. That's the one unit that you look at and you say other Big Ten teams would trade for this. I mean, I don't know if you say that about the offensive line. I don't know if you say that. You certainly don't say that about most of the defense. But you definitely look at that receiving corps and say, you take those at Penn State, you take those at Ohio State, you take those at Michigan. Those guys are that good.
And there is size and there is speed.
Yeah.
And there's playmaking ability. and
they've got good hands.
Yeah, that's right. And they seem to be pretty good just instinctively in the kind of football intangibles. You know, how do you make a play? It's all of that stuff. I mean, it's just very impressive. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting. Kind of in the wake of James Hardy, when Indiana recruited a very talented, very tall receiver that had really good athleticism. He's a great basketball player. At Fort Wayne Hardy too. Now, I mean, his NFL career might not ever get off the ground with injuries, but I imagine he'll get another shot with somebody because he's got that kind of talent. And that when that happens, when a program can go to other kids and say, "Look, this kid really developed here," you know, and you start attracting similar kids, and there's a lot of talent on that receiver.
Yeah, and it certainly doesn't stop there. Deweese Wilson, obviously, Jamone Chester had a very good camp, and Kofi Hughes, who hasn't played yet, is a heck of an athlete, but.
He may or may not play, but if he plays, he'll make a mark.
Right. I think there is concern, though, moving forward. I mean, there have been occasions when they haven't been able to sort of impose their will physically on the line, either against Western Kentucky or Towson. And needless to say, Western Kentucky and Towson are not Michigan, Ohio State.
That's the thing. I mean,
Penn State, Iowa.
It's so hard to say what you can really tell about this team. I mean, you could look at the ability of the wideout, and wideouts, and that's just overt. I mean, that stands out no matter what the context. Here, you know, today Darius Willis averaged 2.3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's obviously not encouraging against any opponent. But when you're talking about a defense that had struggled, a team that had lost 22 straight games coming in, that is not a good result. There was trouble stopping the run early too, although clearly the defense, was much more stout. After the first drive, I think what was. Western Kentucky only had 39 yards of offense in the second quarter. I mean, the defense got better.
It was about that.
And in the third quarter, I thought a big moment for the defense was, it's Western Kentucky's home opener. If they're even going to get a sniff of an upset, they're only down 10 at halftime. They get the opening kickoff to start the third quarter. So that first drive is kind of important if they're going to be able to generate any enthusiasm among the home fans or any faith in themselves, really, about being able to come back. And Indiana's defense just stuffed them. I mean, stuffed them. And then, they shanked a punt, and the next thing you know, I mean, very quickly, Indiana's in the end zone, Chapel sneaking it in, and, that was pretty much the end of any upset hope. So the defense in the middle two quarters, showed some things, but I'd still be concerned about the running attack. The running attack, even when they've had good plays, even when they had good plays in the opener against Towson, it was feast or famine.
Right.
I mean, they'd either kind of break one or they'd just get stuffed. There isn't any consistency. And today, they got out wide a couple of times, but other than that, not really. And when I talked to Coach Mo Moriarty, who coaches the centers and guards for Indiana, earlier this week, he himself said that he felt the splits were too tight against Towson, and they got progressively tighter as the game went along. He said, linemen have a tendency to depend upon one another, and they almost kind of glom together, and you have to watch that because that isn't always conducive to what you're trying to get done with the running attack.
Right. Now, there's definitely been a lot of things on both sides of that. You're not seeing the physical, them just beating people up, I guess. It's interesting, this line in the last couple of years. I think, I'm not exactly an offensive line genius here, but it seems like they definitely protect the passer a lot better than they run the ball.
Yes.
It seems like, obviously, the tackles seem to be more advanced than the guards. They don't seem to they're not able to really make a push. I mean, they can hold them off, hold defenders
really
off
young.
bend.
You're talking about redshirt freshman starters. I mean, and obviously it might take them a while to really build into the game the way they need to.
Right.
But certainly what you say about pass protection is important, and obviously in Indiana's case it's extremely important because they're going to have to depend upon the pass quite a bit this year. But they're not going to be able to be consistently competitive the way they want to be in the Big Ten until and unless they get a running attack that keeps defenses honest, that complements the passing attack, and then until and unless they come up against a team that really provides a physical test and the defense passes it.
Right.
I think a lot more people will get on the bandwagon if they see Indiana's defense playing something approaching adequate defense.
Right. We're about to get pretty long here, but that's it. Stick with us. Check out this. Check out the Scoop, and we will be back in Indiana this week, Akron on Saturday. Thanks a lot.